All right, I want to welcome you guys to our book club tonight. As you can see, Lauren is not here. Unfortunately, her father passed away this morning, so neither Lauren or Lori will be with us. But I wanted to kind of honor them by having their name up here and having their logo. And that's why the logo is behind me, because see, she is such a big part of the book club. Without her, we'd have never started this because I never even thought about doing this. So we're going to miss her tonight. And you guys, please share your sympathies and your thoughts with her whenever you get out of the book club tonight, because she will definitely be missed. But she wanted us to go on tonight. I talked to her this morning. She's doing as well as you can expect, but she wanted us to continue on and have our book club, so we're going to do that. I want to welcome everybody that came in. I know there's a few people that I didn't catch all the names as they came in, but I see Antonio and Bernard. There's Joanne. I'm letting her in. Carlos. Ellis Mitchell. Of course, I said hi to Garrick already. Hurricane Customs. Been talking to Melina and Michael. Thank you guys so much for joining. Stacy and Patrick as well. So glad to have you guys here. So let's get into the discussion. This particular chapter is called What's on the Menu, and it's all about how to do your, not only your food costs, but everything associated with the food costs as far as smallwares and what you're going to cook on, where you're going to store it. So it gets a little bit more involved than just trying to figure out how much something costs you. So what I would like all of us to do just for a few minutes before we get into the meat of the chapter is you've got to have a signature product, or you could have a signature product line. But I'd like some of you guys that have really got into your menu just to share what your particular signature product might be. And I'll start with my product. Most of you guys know that I started with a hot dog trailer like 150 years ago. And my signature product was just a basic hot dog with what they refer to as Cincinnati chili. It's a very fine ground up chili. And then cheese, onions, and mustard. And I just had a picture of that up on my menu, and that's what people would buy when they see the picture. And that was my signature product. What we did to make it different than just anybody else's hot dog is we did the hot dogs in a beef broth, but I didn't do the bouillon cube nonsense that some people talk about, because to me that's watered down and kind of weak. I use the actual beef stock. But to carry that flavor through, I also used the beef stock when I made the chili. And then when I would do the cooked onions, I would again use the beef stock. So you're having beef stock flavor reinforced all the way through that particular product. And I got a lot of really good comments about that signature item. So if you guys would like to raise your hands, hopefully I can see all the raised hands, and share your signature product, or just turn off your microphone and start talking, that would be awesome. But just let me know what your plan is for a signature, or what you actually have if you're already open and operating.
Well, I'm doing a fusion food theme, so I'll have things like a birria bao buns, and a shawarma taco, and an ahi tuna tostada with a tahini yogurt, chipotle sauce with some sesame seeds on top, and a black bean cumin refried beans on there with balsamic strawberries. So that's going to be one of my signature items.
That's going to have a lot of flavor. You mentioned a lot of different flavors there. That's going to be really good.
Yes.
Have you tested that any and got any feedback?
Oh yeah, it's a favorite, especially in the summertime. There's also going to be some lime and cilantro and onion. So yeah, it's going to be great.
Oh, that's fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing. Joanne's got her hand up. So let's hear about Joanne's signature product.
Hey, Bill. Hey, everybody. Good evening.
How are you doing?
My signature, hanging in there.
Good.
My signature product is a natural casein hot dog. That's a pork and beef blend, locally made. We have 6 different hot dogs in Connecticut that are locally made. So that was trying out 6 different hot dogs. through the family and friends, and narrowed it down to one, which happened to luckily be my favorite anyway.
That's convenient.
Yes. And it just goes on a regular hot dog bun that I warm up in one of the pans with the residual heat from the steam pan. Ketchup, mustard, relish. I make a spicy relish by taking hot chopped peppers and the sweet relish and mixing them. Comes out really good. And that's it, just a basic hot dog. And it's like my #1 seller.
Well,
I opened
people,
up Friday and I sold out of them.
did you? Oh, that's good. So the
Oh,
weather's
yeah.
finally cleared up enough up there?
Oh my God, Friday it was like summertime.
Oh, that's
It
awesome.
went from 35 degrees the day before to 75 degrees
Oh,
Friday.
that's so cool. That's so cool. There's something to be said about just the basics, a steamed bun and a hot dog, especially if it's locally made. You just
Oh,
can't
yeah.
beat those kind of things. You can be as fancy as you want, but sometimes just that good old comfort food that people recognize and know. It's
My
going to
whole
be a
thing
winner.
is it just reminds you of going to a baseball game in New York or Boston.
Yep. Yeah, that is one of the benefits about doing hot dogs is people associate it with baseball. That's for sure. So thank you for sharing that. Let's see, Michael in the chat typed stuffed burgers. And I've always loved stuffed burgers. That was my other thing that I always did was burgers. Hot dogs and burgers. And then Garrick is talking about, I'm sorry.
No, it's just Michael here.
Okay, Michael, go ahead. I didn't know if you could speak or not. So go ahead. Tell us about your stuffed burger.
And we're just getting started. We have not opened our truck yet.
Okay.
Well, we're going to do stuffed burgers, and we'll give 4 varieties. There'll be one that's just stuffed with cheese. The second one will be cheese and bacon. Third one will be loaded. So you have your cheese, bacon, olives, and onions. And the last one will be loaded, and you're adding a spicy, like a loaded spicy, some type of buffalo sauce. And then we're going to do hand-cut fries with potato chips.
You doing hand cut fries and what? I didn't catch the last bit.
Hand-cut potato chips.
Okay. All right.
That'd be like our everyday menu.
And those all sound great. Tell me about your hand cut fries, because that's a really trendy thing right now. And we get those questions all the time. How are you guys going to do them?
Well, we're going to freeze them, but we're going to cut them, strain them. I think we're doing sugar and vinegar. Let them sit in that overnight and then dry them out and then freeze them.
Okay.
We think. We got 3 50-pound fryers on the truck. So we know that's going to be a big part of it.
Yeah, that's definitely 3 50-pound fryers. You'll be able to go through a bunch of fries really quickly. That's good. That's a long drawn out procedure. So you definitely want to think that one through to make sure it's not too labor intensive.
Well, we figure they hold for quite some time once they're frozen. So we would use a commissary and do a fry party with 20 people, 10 people once a month and get a month's worth. So we're just, working off of that.
Sounds like a great idea to me.
Okay.
Thank you so much for sharing.
You're welcome.
All right. All right, Garrick, tell me about the Nashville Hot Chicken.
I'm just I'm a big fan of the Nashville Hot Chicken. That's kind of a popular item that's really hitting big in the Fort Worth and Dallas area around here right now. So that's something I go out and I've been out and sampling a lot of sandwiches and working on that. So want to probably do a little bit of breakfast stuff too. So we'll do like chicken and waffles and maybe like a chicken biscuit. And then also, the standard sandwich with coleslaw, pickles, and I got a few other ideas for some other items that have some sides, like probably more. Since I've got 2 40-pound fryers on the truck, so since I'm going to be focusing on the chicken with that, I'll probably skip the fries and go more with like barbecue side, something you might do with a barbecue or something more like mac and cheese and coleslaw and some other, maybe some beans and things like that.
Okay. That sounds good. Tell me about the Nashville Hot Chicken. What would make it qualify as a Nashville Hot Chicken? What's the spicing on that?
Well, it's usually heavy on cayenne, and then it's mixed into like a vegetable oil, and it's actually, after it's fried, it's basted onto you take a brush, basically. Some people dip it, but more common is to baste it onto the fried chicken and let it basically, the oil's on there just to kind of carry it onto the chicken, but it's very heavy in cayenne. And then if you want to do like, some people around here do the crazy hot stuff with, getting into ghost peppers and all that on it, but I'm not going to do that. My thing is probably make just a plain chicken and then have the hot level, because you can get cayenne in 2 different levels, well, multiple levels, but the base cayenne level is around 40,000 and the hot level cayenne is around 90 or 100,000 units. So you can make it like a really crazy hot one without adding that much more spice. It's just that much hotter.
Right. And that sounds great. I can't wait for you guys to get open and me head out to Dallas and try it out.
Cool.
Because I like hot food to an extent. Melissa will tell you that I'm a wimp. She likes hotter food than I do, but I'll definitely try it for sure.
Yeah, it's good. I like it. My preference kind of is actually chicken on the bone, because it's so flavorful, but that's kind of a lot longer cooking time and everything. So
right.
And I may experiment with some of that stuff later and trying some different things, but initially it wouldn't be that way. But I do like the sandwiches, particularly, say if you put a little coleslaw on there to kill a little bit of the heat if it's too hot for you.
That sounds great. Let's see, Antonio. And I know that's not the name.
Hey everyone, this
How
is
you doing?
Lisa and Donnie, and we have our daughter Nikki here with us. How are you?
We're doing good. Tell us about your signature product.
So we're gonna open a Italian truck.
Mhm.
It's gonna be called Lisa Teresa's Italiano, and our signature dish is going to be a meatball hero, as well as some other Italian dishes like sausage and peppers on a hero, potatoes and eggs. What else?
The homemade meatballs.
Kind of broke up there. We couldn't quite hear all the things.
I says the main thing's going to be her homemade meatballs.
Okay.
We're going to put it on a nice 9-inch Italian bread with some sauce. Preferably if mozzarella cheese, whatever you want.
Oh yeah.
And then we're going to have sausage and peppers on the grill, potatoes and eggs, fresh cut.
Oh, that sounds fantastic. I love meatball sandwiches. Absolutely great. Thank you guys so much for sharing. I want to grab Nicole's real quick because I know she has something different. So Nicole, if you'd like to share all of your desserts because they sound so awesome.
Yeah, so I'm opening up here next month. I'm based out of Billings, Montana. And I, as a little kid, would always ask my mom to make an Oreo dirt cake. It's a style of icebox cake that was really popular back in the 50s. It essentially is taking cookies and then putting a creamy, moist layer on top. So that's like a no-bake cheesecake type filling. And then that layer moistens the cookies and makes it more cake texture. You can also add pudding, and then you top it with whipped cream and really any other like sundae type topping. So that's what I will be specializing in. I will have a dirt cake slice available on my truck, in addition to banana cream. So it's like a take on the banana cream pudding pie. And then my other one is going to involve peanut butter, with pretzels on the bottom as my crust and Butterfingers to top it off. So I'm excited.
You're talking my language. I love sweets. That's my biggest weakness.
Yeah. So, and then I'm also on the side going to take that cream cheese layer and sell it by the scoop for people to kind of build their own sundaes with. So I'll use the same fillings that I'm going to do for the other cakes, but also add just a plain vanilla cheesecake one, and then play around a little bit and do specials with special flavors a week, in addition to special cakes on weeks. So
That sounds so good. I can't wait for you to start sharing some pictures that you get open and let us see how you're doing. Let us see all your products. That's just awesome. So I appreciate you sharing.
Yeah.
I'm gonna move on to, yeah, it's dangerously delicious, Joanne said. I'm gonna move on to Ellis Mitchell. He's got his hand up. What kind of signature product do you have?
Can you hear me?
We can hear. How are you doing?
Hey, Bill, how are you all doing?
Oh, I love the accent. Now I don't feel so lonely.
Good old Kentucky.
Yep. Sometimes
Well,
I need to be subtitled.
Okay. Well, we're from Kentucky. We're Southern Barbecue. Been in business about a year and a half. Just started. Got an idea off of your, the post. There was a guy that mentioned something about signature items, and I was like, that's what we need to do. We should do something different because everybody has the same pulled pork, la 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 la. So
Right.
we invented a sandwich, and it's called the Dirty South. It is a pulled pork sandwich piled high with barbecue sauce, a special sauce, like a secret sauce, and it has the onion tanglers, a maple bourbon pickles, and I can never say that bun, a Bouchon bun,
Don't know.
and it's went off the charts.
Well, that's great. That's absolutely great. What part of Kentucky are you from?
We live in Bowling Green.
Bowling Green, the whole other side of the state from where I'm from.
That's where my father lives, in Bowling Green.
That's
Oh,
awesome.
wow. Okay.
Yeah, it's a small world.
It is.
It is. So you said that sandwich took off when you started selling it?
Yes. What we started, we just took it. My son works at a barber shop. And so we just took it down there and just let them sample it and went live. And, it is good, but they, put it on a little extra. And people was just like, I want to try that the Dirty South sandwich.
There you go.
And so now here it is. And we got a picture of it, and I put it on there. And this guy, he edited it for me. And it just went crazy.
Yeah, it's amazing how people sometimes will actually gravitate to a name over the actual product.
Yes, that's the way they did, because
Yeah.
they was like, give me one of them Dirty South, because it's, in the South.
Yep.
It's a song that kind of stretches out the dirty. And they've been cutting up about that sandwich. And some of them never even tried it. They just love the name.
Yep. And the neat thing about it is once they try it, if it's really good sandwich, you've got them hooked because they love the name. Now they love the sandwich. So it's great.
And we wanted to come up with something they could only get on our truck.
There you go.
Nobody else makes that.
There you go. That's definitely something to be proud of. That's what a signature item is. It is yours. Yours is something different than everybody else's. All right. So I thank everybody for sharing with us. I'm going to go ahead and get into all the little tidbits that Lauren always likes to point out, all the pro tips, and I'll explain those pro tips. If you guys have questions, go ahead and write them in the chat, and I will answer those after I go through all of the different pro tips. So let me get this screen organized a little bit better so I can make sure that I don't miss anybody coming in. All right. This chapter is all about the menu. And like I said, when we very first started, it's not only, you buy $1 worth of hamburger meat and turn it into a sandwich. It's also what's it going to take for that sandwich. Are you going to cook that hamburger patty on a flat top? Are you going to cook it on a char broiler? Are you going to sous vide it? I mean, there's all different ways of cooking meat. And then once you get it dressed, is the bun going to be toasted? Is it going to be steamed? Is it going to be untoasted? Is it going to have the typical mayonnaise, lettuce, tomato, ketchup, pickle, onion? In what order are those applied? How much are they applied? So this chapter goes through all of those steps so that you understand not only how much food you've got in the product, but also it's going to need spatulas and what size pan is it going in, salt and pepper. You're going to need shakers, seasoning shakers, that type of thing. So I'm wanting you to think about everything associated with your food, because that helps to dictate what type of refrigeration you're going to need. If you're going to need freezing or refrigeration. So first step is a larger menu does not equal larger sales. And I stress this so much because people go, well, I've got a grill so I can cook this, and I got a grill and I can cook this. And then they start adding on a whole bunch of products. And that doesn't help you, because each product that you add on is one more opportunity for waste. It's also one more opportunity for food to go missing. And it's also one more opportunity for you to have slower service, because you have a big menu for people to read. Especially when you're new, if you have a whole bunch of products on the menu, people are going to sit and read every single product. They're going to read every single word you write about the product. And it takes them longer and longer to place an order. So a small menu is what a food truck needs. 4 to 5 lines of products. Now you can have variations of those products to give your menu the appearance of being big. So what I'm talking about here is you can have a hamburger. So that's one line. You can have a hot dog. That's one line. And you can have 2 or 3 different variations on that hot dog. As long as it's still the same hot dog or the same hamburger patty, you're not doing crazy things like having 4 or 5 different meats and calling it a hamburger. Like you have bison and buffalo and goat and hamburger mix and all that. So you have those lines, and you could add bacon to it. You can add cheese to it. So it increases the opportunities for people to look at your menu and go, oh, that's a big menu, without you having a whole bunch of different food. So keep your menu very lean and very tight. The next pro tip, testing should happen after you've made the decision to begin a food business. So I know a lot of people that are buying the book have already in the process somewhere. They've got something going on with their, with their business. But at the point that you've decided to open up a food business, you start testing. Because what you think is really delicious and what your family thinks is really delicious may not actually be delicious to other people. What you'll find when you start testing products is within groups of people that have a lot of commonalities, like a family, for instance, a lot of their tastes are going to be very similar. Their tolerance to spice, their tolerance to salt will be very similar amongst all the family members. So you have to get out of your family comfort zone and your family testers and get it in front of your friends at work, your coworkers, get it in front of folks at a church, for instance, where the people aren't necessarily going to tell you it's awesome. They're going to be a little bit more honest with you. But you should always be testing. And even after you get open a year or 2 down the road and you want to bring on a new product, test it with your guests that you really trust what they have to say. And you definitely want to get the testing out of the way before you order equipment. Because again, this chapter is making you think about, what equipment do I need to cook? Do I need to portion? Do I need to put in pans? So it's making you think about that. Okay, the next pro tip is start with quality, then worry about price. Because people are going to know when you skimp on quality. So when you're in the planning stage, let your imagination go wild, but get the best quality food that you can find. And then you can start to pare it down. Can I save on a less cut of meat because I'm going to be mixing it with a higher cut of meat? You can start to work on those things, but start with the quality first and then work on the price, because you want to sell high quality food that you can afford to make money on. So that's the caveat there, as long as you can make money on it. This little tip here is an important one. A lot of people, when they go to cook something, they're adding seasonings, and it's not just salt and pepper, but it's all the garlic and all the different mixes and all the spice rubs and all that. and they don't account for it, or they don't account for it thoroughly. And the same with oils. You know, you'll put oil on a bun when you toast it and you don't count it. You have to account for that in your cost, because obviously it costs you money at the grocery store. Same with the seasonings. You know, pepper, for instance, is crazy expensive. So you've got to account for those. And I know it may seem like a little minuscule amount, but it has to be accounted for. And don't just guess. Take the time to work out what that portion is so you know exactly how much it costs you. Okay, the next little tip I've got, we're getting into pricing now. Location, and what I mean by location is wherever you set up for that particular day, that convenience adds significant value and it justifies your higher prices. Because a lot of people, when they very first set up their menu, they compare it to their normal everyday life and they go, okay, I can buy a hot dog and cook a hot dog. I can't possibly sell this for $5 or $6 because hot dogs just aren't worth that much. What you got to consider is you're in a place where there's no other food, because if there was other food, you wouldn't be sitting there. So you're going to be more convenient to the guest. You're saving them time, you're saving them gasoline, you're saving them the hassle because you are there. So that location adds value to what you're selling. So don't be afraid to make your prices what you deserve, because that's probably one of the toughest things that people have when they set their menu prices is, I can't get this out of that product. You know, there's hamburgers that sell for $18 and it's little more than a half a pound patty of hamburger meat, nothing special, a couple of pieces of bacon and some cheese on it. $18. That's somebody that got out there and understood their area. Their area can afford an $18 burger and they can sell it. So understand your area and then don't be afraid to price what you deserve. Absolutely. So all the folks that are raising their hands, I'm going to save all the questions to the very end. So I will come to the raised hands in a moment. Move on to the next slide here real quick. You don't have to be cheaper to be perceived as better. And what I mean by that is a lot of folks think that they need to be less expensive than all the other food trucks. You know, one of the most common food trucks in most cities is going to be a taco truck. And I work with a lot of folks that do taco trucks or some variation of tacos. And they always say, I want to be 25 cents or 50 cents cheaper than everybody else. What you need to do is see what it actually costs you and see if those folks are even making money to begin with. Because it is very possible that a lot of those food trucks are not making money. So you can't judge your prices against someone else. You have to be profitable, and then you have to be better, either faster service, more friendly service, or just a better, higher quality product. Because those three things will win out every single time, and those three things will justify the price you deserve. Now, there are things that when you sit to do the food cost that you just can't sell them for the price you want to get out of them. When you're reading through the book, I recommend everybody start at a 25% food cost. The easiest way to mathematically do that is just to multiply what your cost is. So the bun, the meat, all the different toppings, what they cost you, multiply that by 4. That will give you a 25% food cost. I like dealing with multiplication because we can mostly do that in our heads. Division, and that's how you get a percentage, is a little bit more difficult. But in any case, there are some products when you sit to multiply that out and there's no way in the world you're going to get that price. You're going to have a higher percentage food cost, and that's okay. What you have to do is bundle that particular product with a low-cost side or low-cost drink, and that lowers the overall food cost of that particular ticket. So you may have a hamburger that legitimately you're going to have to run at a 33 or 35% food cost because there's just no way people are going to pay $22 for it. And that's okay. the cashiers need to be taught that when that burger gets ordered, the very next thing out of their mouth should be, hey, would you like an order of fries with that? Hey, would you like a drink with that? Because those two items should have a much lower food cost, and it brings down the overall food cost of that ticket. So it's okay to have a product that's, 33% food cost. You just don't want your entire menu set up at a 33% food cost or a 35% food cost, because you're not going to make as much money. And in all likelihood, you're probably not going to make any money. Next pro tip, suggest to sell high value, low cost items. And this again applies to the tip before, but you're wanting to think about things like adding on chili to a hot dog, for instance, or bacon. Somebody comes in and says, hey, I like your cheeseburger. Hey, would you like to have bacon on that for, $2 extra, whatever? Because the bacon adds a lot of value and people don't mind paying, that little extra bit to have the bacon added or the cheese added or, the chili added. So suggestive sell. You need to teach your staff to suggestive sell. And actually, it's not suggestive selling. Suggestive selling is when you suggest a product they haven't already ordered. So they've ordered a sandwich, a fry, and a drink, and you suggest, hey, would you like a dessert with that? This particular thing is actually upselling. They've ordered a burger and you say, hey, would you like some bacon on that? You're upselling the burger. That's the difference in those two. Have different menus and different price structures for different vending sites and events. For example, you guys have probably heard me tell the story that in the area that I live, I can take my hot dog cart down to the beach and make a pretty decent amount of money because there's no competition. There's no other food vendors of any sort down there, or at least there didn't used to be. So I could really command whatever price I wanted for the products that I was selling. However, if I went in town about a mile and a half difference, couldn't sell those same beach prices. So I'd have to have a whole different menu with a whole different set of pricing. Still made money, but I had to have a different price structure. When I would set up at a baseball game, a kid's baseball game, I even had a different price structure for that because the menu was a little bit simpler and I wanted people to, to be snacking. They didn't want to spend, you go to the beach, you might spend $20 to eat. You go into your kid's baseball game, you only want to spend 8 or 10. So you got to think about who you're going to be serving, but have those different price structures set up so that when somebody comes up to you and says, hey, can you set up at a baseball field? You already know what you're doing. And it's the same with events. Events price structures need to be different based on whatever it costs you to get into them. So you may have multiple price structures. The next tip, price your menu similar to your competition, but absolutely don't be afraid to go higher. Absolutely don't be afraid to go higher. Because like I said earlier, they may not even be making money to begin with. So don't worry about what they're doing. Make your food better, your service better, and you'll be fine. Use portion control at every chance you get. I need to fire my wife because she's my editor and she didn't catch that extra S there. But in any case, use portion control at every single chance you get. What I mean by that is if you're using a liquid cheese for nachos, for instance, you should have a pump or a ladle that's a specific amount, 2 ounces, ounce and a half, 3 ounces, whatever it is. You want to use that ladle. You don't want to use a 1 ounce ladle and intend to put 3 ounces on it because you're dripping it. You're 3 motions for one to get the cheese onto the particular product. And you don't want to go through that extra motion. But typically what I found is if you use a 1 ounce ladle 3 times on something, it ends up with way more than the 3 ounces you intended. So use your exact portions. Things like mayonnaise, for instance, have a mark on the spatula where the mayonnaise should go. We used to use metal spatulas because they're a little bit easier to apply mayonnaise with. And you can do it in one movement when you get really good at it. So the mayonnaise should only go so high up on the spatula. You have a little mark there. And then you train yourself, it should only be so tall on the spatula. And then once you get that down, you're putting the exact same amount on it every single time. And like I said, you can do it in one single motion. Because believe me, I have done tens of thousands of burgers, and I can put mayonnaise on it in one movement. Even when we did the sub rolls, I got to where I could do a sub roll in one movement. The next pro tip, develop a procedure and then stick to it. You absolutely cannot get faster if you don't do the same thing over and over and over. And it has to be a written procedure. The reason you want to write it is it makes it more real to you. And at the point that you expand your business and need to hire somebody, now you have something that's written and you can go, okay, this is how we do a burger. This is how you cook it. And you give them all the different signs for when to flip the burger, when to season it and all that. And then same with the dressing of a burger. For instance, I eat at a lot of food trucks. And one of the things that I will use to compare a food truck, so I can do apples to apples, is a burger. And almost everybody has just a normal mayonnaise, lettuce, tomato, ketchup, pickle, onion burger. And I'll get those. The way that they're dressed is almost always different. They're inconsistent. You know, the mayonnaise will be plopped in the middle. They won't spread out to the edges. The tomato, and I've seen this on a number of trucks, is in a wedge shape where they're cutting it by hand. So one edge of it is really, really thick, and then one edge of it's really, really skinny. So each bite changes the flavor of the burger. Those are the kind of things you don't want to do. You want to make your sandwich right. You want to do your prep procedures right, so that every time somebody takes a bite of the same sandwich, it tastes the same as the first bite. And then you also want that sandwich to taste the same today as it does next week, as it does the next month. Because if I get hooked on a particular product and start to brag to my friends, hey, you're going to love this product, come in and get it, and you're not consistent in how you make it, I might be disappointed when I bring my friend in there and go, we're not coming back here anymore, because they're not consistent. All right, now we're down to the homework. Now, again, we'll make this a text file for the folks that don't have the workbook. These are all things that you should work on to move ahead in the book. I'll go through these just really quickly because we got a couple of minutes, and I'll start answering some questions. You want to list every single product you plan on selling. And you can, at this stage, list more than you intend to put on a menu, because some of those things probably would be worthy limited time only. And a limited time only is a product you bring on to reinvigorate your sales with an intentional end date. That's why you'll see a lot of restaurants in the spring, they'll bring on seafood salads and that kind of thing, or they'll, focus on salads and people dieting and that kind of thing. So you can definitely have a big list, but you only want to have a few things on your actual production when you're open. Develop a written procedure with specific measurements for every single product. And I know that sounds just really weird because, hey, it's just food, but that food is actually dollars. When you start thinking about the mayonnaise and the shredded lettuce as being dollar bills, you get a little bit more serious about how much you're putting on it. You want to be consistent with your measurements, and they should be consistent for how you want the product to taste. So you don't skimp on mayonnaise because, it's expensive, but you do make sure that it has the exact same amount that you expect to be on it, and you do it time after time after time. You want to list all your equipment, and we're talking about storage and preparation and cooking and holding. The application, and what I mean by that is, spatulas to put mayonnaise on something or tongs to pick up something. And then the presentation, and that could be as much as a display case, a heated display case or something, or a refrigerated display case for folks that do refrigerated desserts. But you want to think about all of those different pieces of equipment, and you want to do it for each and every product and ingredient. And then, as it says, use additional paper as needed. Just write the list. Get as detailed as you need to be. You want to find high quality, affordable sources for every single ingredient. And there are tons of websites that sell products. You may have to get accounts with them, but definitely price shop. Don't be afraid of price shopping. Based on your procedures and measurements, we have a spreadsheet in the file section of the group. You can download that and fill in all the information. It's a tedious spreadsheet. I am not going to lie to you. But what it does once it's set up is it will keep you abreast of all your prices every time you go to the store. Because all you got to plug in then is how much the new price is. And the spreadsheet tells you that your product has now exceeded what your goal food cost was. And then you can make that call to adjust the price or not. We see that question very frequently. Hey, prices have gone up. What are y'all doing? It's an easy question to answer. Raise the prices. Some things you also got to look at the impact. Like for instance, you buy a pound of meat this week and it's $7 a pound, let's say. Next week you go and it's $8 a pound. So you freak out because it's gone up a whole dollar. But if that particular meat product, you're able to portion it down and say you're only using 2-ounce portions, maybe you're doing a smash burger. So now that price is not a full dollar that it went up. It's only, 16 cents or something like that. So that makes the portion more palatable, and you might be able to absorb that particular price increase, at least this week. If it goes up again next week, you may have to adjust that price. So it's not always how much the grand total of the product is, it's how much it affects your portions. You want to price each item keeping in mind the acceptable price structure in your area. It's certainly okay to be higher, but you got to justify that again with taste and quality and service. That's how you win the game. And again, make alternative price lists, because it will just help you, especially on catering, because then you'll be able to spit out numbers. And somebody says, hey, how much would it cost for, hamburger catering? Not a problem. I need $18 a person. And that'll help to filter out the people that really aren't serious to begin with. And then make a list of all the major equipment. And this is leading towards you building a business plan, is why we want you to list all the major equipment at this point. It's making you think about how big your trailer's got to be, or how big the food truck's got to be. Where am I going to be putting all this equipment? Because a food truck or a food trailer is not just length and width, it's also height. So you got to be thinking about, can I fit in a 7-foot tall refrigerator? Can I fit in, whatever the piece of equipment is? So that's all of the things that I had for this particular chapter. It's a very wordy chapter. It's got a lot of math formulas in it. And I also talk about the profit and loss statements. So take your time to read this one. There are videos on the group that go over the spreadsheet, how to use it. And I've got 2 other independent videos on the group on doing food cost in general. Your food cost is going to be either your number 1 or your number 2 most expensive expense. And if it's not number 1, labor's number 1, and then food is number 2. So in either case, you've got to understand your food cost and understand it very well.